Kontos. Here we are again. There, there, Chris boy. There, there. Right off the bat. Good-looking guy. First of all, we'll introduce his mom and dad and lovely wife, Mary Jane, right off the bat here. Take a look. There she is. Let's hear her. There she is. George and Joanne there on the right there. Okay. Nice shirt, George. Nice shirt he's got on, eh? Pretty good. All right, now let's get right to it. They get a little harder later on. Where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born and raised in Toronto, and I suddenly lived down here up north in a small town called Wabashine, where I spent a lot of hours on a little pond out in front of my grandfather's marina.
What's it called?
Marsh's Marina in Wabashine.
Oh, Wabashine. Boy, I'm glad you said that. I'm telling you that. Now, the minor teams, always like to get in the coaches, if you can remember, and the minor teams you played for on the way up.
Well, I think Everett Johnson and Gary Perryman, they were instrumental in my younger days, and then when I came down here, Andy Darbyson had a lot to do with my career just before junior, and I remember all the things they did for me along the way.
Well, they're hockey. Those guys are hockey, I'll tell you that. Now, you played junior in Sudbury, right?
Started in Sudbury, yeah.
Started in Sudbury. Didn't do it. Now, you went up to New York. You come back to the Marlies, which is great, in Toronto. You were living here in Toronto, which is a real break. Eh? You had a great year with the Marlies.
Well, looking back, I mean, I wish we all had hindsight. They sent me back, and maybe it would have been better if I would have stayed with the Marlies for a full year.
Here you are right there, a little shot of you going up there in those long pants.
The old Cooperalls, yeah. And that was the start of my career, and it's been a long and eventful one.
You know, you got drafted by the New York Rangers. They brought you up at 19. What the heck was it like going at 19 to the Big Apple?
Actually, it was quite an event for a 19-year-old to go to the Big Apple and see Manhattan and the life down there. And I was very fortunate to have got a chance and played as a 19-year-old. And unfortunately, things didn't go smooth like.
8 goals, I think, though. Not bad.
Well,
yeah.
I did my best, and I've always tried to do my best, but. When things like that happen, you just have to keep persevering. I mean, New York's a tough town to play in.
You know, you were sent back. I remember when I was in Colorado, we sent a kid back to junior, and he sulked, and he was never the same. You went back. You had I think you had 28 games or something. You had 54 points. You really turned it on when you went back.
Well, I knew what I wanted to become, and that was a professional hockey player, and those were my goals. And I'm still here doing it about 11 years later, so I think that I'm on the right track still.
Anyhow,
right.
So anyhow, you start out, they only give you 28 games, or 6 games, I think, and they sent you to Tulsa. What the heck happened there? 6 lousy games.
I don't really know. Like I said, I always try to do my best, but there was, I think, a European invasion that year, and
here you are up there.
There were a lot of...
Nice.
Well, I think that was Pittsburgh.
They were in there, Pittsburgh, I'll tell you. New York Rangers now, you went to New Haven. Then you ended up, well, that's not too bad a goal, and then you ended up in Finland. So now you come back to Pittsburgh. 31 games. You end up in New Haven again. That's not too shabby. We'll talk about New Haven. He's in love with New Haven, I'll tell you. Anyhow, Pittsburgh, you go to Muskegon. Now, that's a pretty good league, that I'll tell you. You have to have a lot of character to survive in that right?
Well, it's another one of the minor leagues that I've played in. I've played in the Central League, the International League, and the American League, so I think I've got them pretty much all covered. And it was an experience, but luckily I got out of there and got back to L.A.
Now, you went to L.A., you went back to New Haven again. Now, you're in love with New Haven. I'll go back to Finland again. Now, L.A. wants you back for the playoffs. Now, how did they, it's an interesting story. If I remember in Hockey Night in Canada, we did a story how they got you back. Tell us about that.
Okay. I just finished my season in Switzerland, actually, not Finland.
Same thing.
Same difference. Europe. And I just got back, and there was a deadline that they had to sign players by.
Now here's some of the goals that you're scoring, but okay. Now we'll talk about this. And he got us back. Believe this or not, in 11 games he got 9 goals. If you can believe that, let's have a hand for that. I remember that. I want to hear how they got him. This is the funniest one of all. Go ahead.
There was a 12 o'clock deadline, midnight, and I had to have a contract signed before that in order to become eligible to play for the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. And the only way that we could get all the paperwork and everything done was through a fax machine. And a friend of mine who is a general manager at Midland Buildall, plug.
Lumber place. What was it called?
Midland Buildall.
Okay, Midland Buildall. We got him in there.
We rushed in there, used their fax machine, signed all the documents, sent them back and forth, and the next morning I was on my way.
Well, what happened in those playoffs? I mean, every time you shot the puck went in, it was beautiful, eh? We were watching them on Hockey Night in Canada. Just tell us about that playoff.
Well, everything seemed to be going right, and that's part of the career. Everybody's career doesn't go like that all the time. There's only a lucky, precious few that ever have careers like that, but the rest of us have to wait and savor those moments when they come. And
but the next year, they give you 6 games. 6 lousy games. And I think you went to New Haven again,
yeah,
right?
Back to New Haven.
You must have just had a rented apartment and just kept it in New Haven, right?
I know New Haven pretty well.
So now you went to Phoenix. I want to ask you a question. What's the weather like? Pretty hot there in Phoenix.
One of the nicest places I've ever played in my life. And I've played in a lot of places.
You and me.
Yeah.
Now you went to Canadian National. This guy never gives up, folks, I'll tell you. Next year you went to Canadian national team. A lot of people don't understand what happens in that Canadian national team. They hear about it and they see them traveling around. What goes on there?
Well, that's we're representing the country and we're grooming for the Olympics. And Dave King and Terry Crisp were running the program there, and they had an excellent program. And we took our show on the road all through Canada, all the small towns. We played the Russians for 11 games straight and 20 nights, and we were all over the country. And it's the guys that play on that team don't get enough recognition. They really work hard all the time, and
kind of tough, eh? When they're going and they cut guys that have been working hard.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, that's part of the business. Whether it's the national team or the NHL or any team, and unfortunately everybody can't play in the Olympics, but the lucky ones that do represent the country, and we should all be proud of them.
Well, you got a pretty good break with Terry Crisp was one of the coaches because he goes to Tampa.
Well, I think I was on the ropes when I missed the Olympic Games by one day, and it was a tough time, and I decided that I still felt that I could do it, and I worked hard that summer, and luckily I got my foot in the door in Tampa, and I think I've rejuvenated my career a little.
Boy, I guess you have now. What a start. I mean, you went on a tear, unbelievable. We've got a little clip here. Let's see the very first game. Scores the first goal, and all of a sudden he gets 4 goals, and here it comes right now.
Into the near corner, Smith. Rubbed off behind the net, came loose in front, Zaminer, center, but opened up, they score! Chris Kontos with a tap in off a great play from Rob Zaminer, who drilled Belfour out of the net, slipped it across. Kontos.
All right. First goal, eh? That was the first goal. First goal, always in history. Now you've got a pretty good expansion team. I'll tell you that.
We surprised a lot of people this year.
Nobody ever thought you guys were going to do as good as you did.
Yep, and an excellent cast and
character and muscle.
Character, everything. We had a great balance of everything.
Yeah,
management,
Phil went with
everything.
Yeah, and Phil gives everybody a chance. By the way, like I told you, he got 4 goals, and I think Blue's got the other 3, and we're going to show them right now, aren't we, Blue? We'll see right now. We're going to show. Yes, we are. Watch this now. 4 goals.
Rob Smith into the corner, inboards, picked off out front, out to Zaminer. Zaminer fakes the shot. Belfour moving way out of the net, anticipating the shot. He's 3 feet outside the crease.
Adam Crate in the near circle. Deep slot to Zaminer, side of the net, centering pass. They score! Kontos again! Failed to get it out. Riki's on shot, deflecting shot. They score! The hat trick for Chris Kontos. The Hawks failed to clear it. The Lightning's original shot was blocked and went right to Kontos, and bang! 3 goals for Chris Kontos. 6-1 Tampa. Moves it back to Riki. Put it to the side. Tip, they score! What a beautiful deflection by Chris Kontos. 4 goals.
All right. All right, that's good, eh? Hey, that's... And by the way, he scored them on Belfour, the best goaltender in the league, by the way. That was pick. Not too shabby in Chicago.